this portion of the program is more of an open forum, and for you all to share any thoughts you may have on something you may have wanted to hear about or have questions about or comment on. And we also are going to include our section administrators to share their likes and dislikes, and kind of their insight on how things are and how they work, so that so the section leaders can have a better idea how to work with them through through all your programming this coming year. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about today that we haven't already discussed? Anything you want to hear more about? Okay. I think Willie Shepherd is one of the administrators. She was going to share some thoughts about some of the work that the administrators have to do.
Good afternoon. I'm Willie Mae Shepherd, not Willie Shepherd, Sasha. Good afternoon to everyone.
Willie Mae Shepherd, yes, got it.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sorry about that.
I was asked, what are some of the things that administrators work on with the section leaders to make a more effective process for us? And what is key to me is communication. Leadership needs to always make sure that the administrators are involved in anything that they're planning to do. They come up with a lot of ideas, but in order for us to make sure we're giving them the best available assistance, the administrator has to be a part of that at the onset. They can't come up with ideas and then decide to tell me and expect something to happen when I first haven't been involved with it. Communication is key. I really stress to my sections that I need to always make sure that I am following policies and procedures that are outlined by the Florida Bar. And in order to do that, I also need them to do that as well. Whenever there's a doubt, let's ask questions. I will work with them to give them all of the information that they need and vice versa. It's very important that all sections, not just my sections, make sure that they are adhering to deadlines. We have, in order to, especially with CLEs, there's a timeline that we must follow in order to make the most effective CLE possible for the sections. And if you have speakers who are late, not providing information to us in a timely manner, that slows the process. And then we're up against deadlines that we must meet. And oftentimes you don't get the best possible CLE because we as administrators are waiting for speakers or even section chairs to not follow through giving us what we need. So to just make our lives easier, I just think communication is key. We need to make sure we're always adhering to policies and procedures outlined by the Florida Bar. And we need to make sure that we're meeting any deadlines that are set forth by the bar that they're asking us to make sure to give the best possible products for a section.
Thank you, Willie Mae. Does anybody have any other thoughts or questions for Willie Mae? And Sherry Wright, she's the section administrator for the appellate practice and environmental and land use.
Hi, everyone. Sherry Wright. I have been asked to kind of discuss CLE deadlines and just kind of deadlines in general, which Willie Mae did kind of touch on. But I've prepared just a few remarks in regard to that. So I'll try to make it brief, but I did write some things down. So people that have worked with me know that I'm kind of a stickler for deadlines. Of course, I realize that deadlines are not always met. I don't always meet them either, although I always try to. But I do realize the importance of deadlines, and there are a couple of reasons why I frequently harp on them. The first reason is because really I realize how busy I am. I know how busy my coworkers, both in my department and other departments, are. And I feel like I have a pretty good idea of how busy you all are. And candidly, when someone sends me something, although I might see it and immediately respond to it, I may not actually be able to make it an action item on my to-do list for a couple of days, or sometimes, depending on when it comes in and the time of year, it may even be a couple of weeks before I can actually sit down and really do something with it. And I know the same goes for a lot of my coworkers, as well as probably a lot of you as well, especially since this is volunteer work for you all. Thus, and I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but getting information to us as far ahead of time as possible really allows us to be able to pivot to your items as soon as we get the opportunity to, amidst all the various mini projects that we have. So if we don't have the information required to be able to do that, we may have to start on another project that's also waiting for us. And then yours will end up taking a back seat to someone's who is completely ready to go. The second reason is because honestly, putting something together at the last minute isn't really worth your time or effort or ours. As program administrators, we want to make the Florida Bar look good. We want to make our sections look good. And we really want to make you look good as voluntary bar leaders. And it's pretty difficult to achieve that when things are rushed, unorganized, or only partially planned. So to further speak to that, here are a couple of pieces of what I consider to be valuable information that section leaders need to know about related to deadlines, as well as one, I would say, best practice that I think is pertinent to planning and achieving a successful CLE program. But honestly, all of this information is really relevant and pertinent to planning any event, not just a CLE. So the first thing that I find that people, or some people, are unclear on is how much time it actually takes to set up a program, whether it's a CLE or other type of event on the bar's end. And the nutshell answer to that, I believe, and if anybody feels differently, but I believe the nutshell answer to that on average on the bar's end is about 2 weeks. Now, it might take a little less time or it might take a little more, but on average, I would say once you get it to us in final form, it takes about 2 weeks to move it through all of our stuff. And here's why. So once you get us everything you need, again, it may take us as program administrators a few days to be able to pivot to getting to set that up because of all the different tasks we have going. But once we are able to do that and pivot to your stuff, once we submit that information on your behalf, it actually has to go through a multitude of bar departments and various bar staff members' hands before we can actually launch registration for your event. And begin the marketing process. So for example, when you submit your info to us for a CLE program or any type of event that requires registration, at minimum, it has to go to our accounting department so that they can ensure that revenues and expenses go to and come out of the proper accounts. We've got to submit it to LSE for accreditation if it's a CLE program. Got to go to a bar staff member here at the bar that sets up the registration page through the bar's end and potentially Enreach's catalog, depending on the type of program it is. Got to come back to us and our supervisors for our final checks and balances. And then if it is a CLE course and a bigger one, we often have to put together a course book and get the course book information to who that has to go to. So there's a whole lot of moving parts in terms of where it needs to go. And that doesn't even count if it's a live in-person program and you've got to secure various venue contracts, purchase orders for food, room blocks, all of that stuff potentially has to go through the meetings department, et cetera, things like that, which obviously takes time. And mainly because I don't know of anyone who works here who is just kind of sitting around waiting for something to come in for them to work on. We're all kind of always actively working on tasks. So knowing that, it's just a timely process. So also, of course, and I'm sure we've touched on this all day, contracts and purchase orders take time. If you're spending more than $500 on something, we've got to do a contract or purchase order. Depending on how much you're spending, it may have to go through a multitude of staff hands and or upper level management before it can get signed off on. And so when we do that, there's an internal process that has to be followed. And unfortunately, your program administrator can't just sign a piece of paper and give somebody a credit card number for something or just cut them a check. We do try to expedite things as quickly as we can. But again, that's just another task that we have to be able to pivot to when that comes up, and it does take some time. Finally, when you do get information to us, it really needs to be complete and final by the deadlines that we set, not partially complete. And this is my best practice that I was talking about. So, for example, we don't need to know that you invited someone to speak at a CLE and you have X, Y, and Z topics laid out, but can't confirm the speakers for those topics yet. If you don't have confirmed speakers, your agenda is not final. And in short, we really can't do anything with it. Here's an example of CLE programming for which I have been given complete and final information for. If I can quickly share my screen. Hold on one second. So hopefully everybody can see this. So this is just an example. The appellate practice section does and sorry to call them out, and I hope they don't mind me sharing this, but they do a webinar series every year. And we launch it ahead of time so that people can go ahead and sign up for it, because we do a pre-sale on it to allow for people to be able to spend a little less money if they register for the entire series. And so what I've told them, they asked me several years back, Sherry, what all information do you need to be able to accomplish this goal for us? And so I just told them, I need the full finalized title. I need the date and time for each program. I need to know how long they last. I need the speaker's name. I need a synopsis of the program. I need to know, what do you want to credit it for? I need to know the program chair. I need to know the program vice chair if there's any. I need to know the moderator. I need all of those people's full information and email addresses, and I need their bio and headshots. So every year, Appellate puts this nice, neat, tidy little document together and sends it to me, and it literally has every single thing that I need on there. And it doesn't include pricing, but we have set pricing for this, so I don't need that. But if it didn't, and it was something that I would want them to price, I'd want that on there too. So they just do a really good job of just kind of putting it all neatly tied up with a little bow for me. And then when I do have time to pivot to it, I can pivot and get going, and it's really just very, very simple to do. I'm happy to share that with anybody that wants it. I think it's a really good best practice that they do, and it really makes things very easy and very seamless and flawless because all the information that I need is in one spot. Additionally, kind of just to kind of sum things up here. So what kind of deadlines are we talking about? Honestly, and this is each administrator probably has their own thoughts on deadlines, but this is what I think works really well. For live in-person program, and these are minimum deadlines. These are not like, oh, okay, like she says this, and we've got an extra 3 or 4 weeks on top of that. This is minimum deadlines, in my opinion, to really pull off a good event. So for live in-person programming or events, anything that we need to secure a venue, food and beverage, et cetera, we're looking at a minimum of 12 weeks. That's 2 weeks for the bar to move and do their thing, and or me to be able to pivot to it. And that's another 2-ish weeks to sometimes secure the venue and all the in-person details, contracts, purchase orders, whatever else we need. And then another 8 weeks to market it. And 8 weeks to market it is like, oh, you want to space your email blast out. You don't want to send emails back to back. You want to space them out a couple of weeks. So you got 2 to 3 weeks with each, in between each e-blast. So you send 4 emails out, spaced out 2 or 3 weeks apart. You're all right. There's your 8 weeks right there. So in my opinion, for live in-person events, we're looking at 12 weeks. You're like, oh, well, what if we want to do a webinar on InReach or something? In my opinion, 8 weeks is your minimum for those. That's 2 weeks, again, for the bar to process, 6 weeks of marketing, 3 e-blasts each. Free Zoom CLEs. You don't need as much time on that because they're free. You don't have to market them quite as much. But I think you still want to probably get at least 2 emails out to get the word out. Plenty of exposure. And in my opinion, for free Zoom CLEs, we're at 6 weeks. Anything short of those, I just can't promise you that it's going to get the exposure it needs for attendance and revenues if that's applicable. And we really do want these programs to succeed for you. We want to make sure it's worth your time. Now that's not to say that you can't ever stray outside of those guidelines. They are guidelines. Maybe there's a CLE topic that's super timely that comes up that you want to put together. However, routinely trying to stay within those guidelines, it really does help us a lot, and it'll help you a lot as well. So big takeaway here: 1, be organized. Give us your event and CLE information in final form, not piecemeal, not with anything pending. I know that's challenging, but as a program administrator that works with a section that literally does do a series and gives me the stuff 12 months in advance, I know it can be done. 2, get us your info in final form by the appropriate deadline so it makes it worth all of your hard work and effort, which, again, I just mentioned 12 weeks for live, 8 weeks for webinar, 6 weeks for Zoom. That's my thoughts. Other administrators might feel differently about that. But I think if you stick to those guidelines, you can pretty well ensure that your programming, whether it's a CLE, networking event, retreat, whatever it is well marketed and brings on enough revenue and positive feedback to make it worthy of expending your energy on it. So just, try to keep that in mind when you're planning, and let us know if we can help you with anything. Certainly happy to go over anything with anybody that has any questions on any of that.
Thanks so much, Sherry. Does anybody have any questions for Sherry or any thoughts to on what she's talked about so far?
And this is Chase Early, Director of Professional Development. I've got a couple of visuals of things that Sherry just verbalized that I thought might be good to briefly show you on a screen share. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. Can everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, this is just a kind of a workflow visual of our CLE development process. This is what Sherry mentioned takes approximately 2 weeks. And I just wanted to kind of show everybody all of the different steps that go into this. All of the preliminary information that Sherry needs in advance goes into this entry step. So that's just step one of our process. And throughout the line, we basically have to walk it through various bar departments, including finance and accounting. And it basically goes kind of back and forth between the administrator and each of these different departments that slowly add content, add their pieces, add a contract that will ultimately build out the scope of the CLE program. But it goes from the entry step to the finance and accounting, venue contract, through CLE accreditation, promotion and marketing steps, pricing, and then event finalization and setup. And like I said, every one of these boxes that you see is various bar departments, various bar staff who are integrated with those processes. And I also wanted to share, and a lot of you have probably seen this, this is our kind of our generic CLE committee seminar timeline. And for a seminar put out on July 1, you'll see at 20 weeks out in January, 6 months ahead of time, you should be moving towards a program. You should be identifying who's going to be leading the program. 16 weeks out, some more action has been taken there. But at 12 weeks out, 3 months, everything's due to staff. And at that point, it then enters all of these various workflow processes, undergoes all sorts of back and forth and various steps in here down into promotion, marketing, and final presentation date. So I just wanted to kind of throw the visual up on the screen and kind of put some print what Sherry was saying there, which is all accurate.
Chase, this is Howie. Can that document be shared with the section chairs?
Absolutely. And actually, yeah, the seminar timeline is in the section leadership handbook, which everybody will receive on Monday. And I'll make that other diagram available as well.
Thanks. Yes, that will be helpful to have that timeline as a guide for the CLE chairs and planning programs, for sure.
And I think we've got a question.
Who has a question?
It's Suzanne Van Wyk. Thanks, Chase, for that walkthrough. What I usually do when I'm planning is I use that timeline document and start at the back, start at the front and work backwards, I guess, with the dates. But my question is, why do we have to have the speaker's written material submitted so far in advance, since the bar does not print and distribute books for CLEs anymore?
That's another one that kind of involves another of our support departments. And just through the nature of the volume of work that they do. I mean, we have 23 bar sections and divisions, all actively hosting separate CLE content, and just the volume of work that builds up throughout those processes. We only have a small number of staff who physically compile all of the materials and the biographies and eventually get it into a course book. And more than one bar department works on that process. We have 2 to 3 staff in my department who kind of directly liaison all of that with the administrators. And then they correspond all of their work over to our office systems, and another group of 6 to 8 staff over there who work on various things amongst other work of the bar. So again, it's just a volume of work sort of thing, and just an effort to not get consumed in time and get to the point where we're rushing everything. Rushed work will seldom come out perfect, and we try to put forth the perfect product.
I find that to be the most challenging part of planning any CLE is getting the presenters materials to meet that deadline. So we usually give them a false deadline so that we can give them an extension.
Any other questions?
Well, it's not a question, but I'd be remiss not to give a big thank you to Sherry Wright, not just for her great support of our public practice section, but this Council of Sections. She has jumped in and filled the breach during our hours of need this year, and she is directly responsible for helping to get together this program that we're here at today, the wonderful pins that we can now put on our jackets, and other good things. So Sherry, on behalf of the Council of Sections, thank you for your support this year.
Thanks, Nick. I would be remiss to say that all of our coworkers here in professional development really help each other out and jump in when somebody needs something. So I think we have a great team up here, really willing to help anybody out when needed. So thanks to everybody for being able to jump in, being flexible, and being great team workers.
Amen.
Jenny Dormany also had some ideas that she wanted to share today.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Jenny Dormany. I am can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I am the program administrator for the trial lawyers section, and
we can't see you.
You can't see me. I don't know why. Try again. I don't know why my
just the bar.
Sorry.
We can just see your bar backdrop.
How about now?
Now it's black.
I have absolutely no idea why it's not working all of a sudden. Hi.
You're gonna run down to my office?
It's not covered. I can talk anonymously. I'm not sure, instead of you watching me try and fix my camera. So my first tip is test your technology ahead of time, which surprisingly I did, and it still failed. So that always happens. But no, my tip for the day is spend some time with your sections looking at the future years. As Sherry just talked about, she had a great example of how the appellate practice section puts together a full webcast seminar for the year that basically goes live, I think July 1, if I'm not mistaken. We all know the bar year, and it starts July 1. And so they're actually working the year before to put that together for this year. I know a lot of sections are really fantastic at working ahead of time, planning for upcoming, for future years. Some sections wait until the leaders start July 1 to start looking at what their year is going to look like and trying to put some things together. So I guess my advice or suggestions for today is maybe put together a long-term planning committee if you don't have one already. If you have one and it doesn't really get utilized very much, maybe start tasking them with some topics to cover and plans for future years. I really think it will help in planning ahead for your future, because I know every section wants to grow membership, grow revenue, start doing new things, tackle new topics. It will leave some space for you to be more reactive this year to upcoming and hot topics while you're planning for your future, knowing the direction you want your section to go. That's about it.
Any other comments for Jenny? Questions? So we wanted you to have an opportunity to hear from some of the section administrators today. Are there any other section administrators that are attending that would like to share any other thoughts?
Hi, this is Diana. I'm the program administrator for the Real Property Probate and Trust Law section. I just started in January, but I had a point just to kind of piggyback what Jenny and Willie Mae were talking about communication, especially into the future years. Something that I do with my section leadership. I have a weekly call with my section chair just to check in. That's on both of our calendars. We don't necessarily do it every time. Sometimes we need to reschedule it, but at least it's on there. And then in January, I start having a monthly call with my chair-elect for the next incoming fiscal year coming up. And then it will start increasing thereafter, like every 2 weeks. So we just kind of flow, and then it just keeps flowing. And then the chair after that we'll start having a call, so that way we start with their ideas and we're not, surprised by anything, and we can begin work and planning. So along with the long range planning comment, I just wanted to comment on that.
Great. Yeah, that's a wonderful idea to keep the planning process moving along. Any other speakers that would like to share any ideas? All right. And how about any of our other leaders that are today, after hearing from our administrators, anything else that you wanted to discuss? Something that we touched upon at our Council of Sections meeting in the summer or a couple of months ago was ideas of how to increase membership for our sections. Does anybody have any thoughts on how on that topic for your particular section? Things that we should be looking out for that might help in this area?
I kind of have a question in that regard. And I always hate to suggest more work for any of the hardworking bar members or bar employees that are on the phone, but how hard would it be to create kind of a database that showed the members of the bar who were not members of any section? Because, that would be a list that probably every section would be interested in, depending on, I know there's a lot of good search tools in the available just from the public view of it. I'm sorry, there's some construction going on behind me, but it would be good to know, who are not affiliated with any section. And then from there, the sections should probably break the list down further to figure out people that likely are in their practice areas. Because those are people that, if they're business lawyers, not members of the business law section, we certainly would want to try and find ways to try and bring them in. But the first step would probably be, okay, let's eliminate everyone who's a member of other sections. And it seems to me that something from a technology standpoint shouldn't be hard to do. But then again, I'm just suggesting something. I don't know. You guys tell me, but it's just a question that has always occurred to me.
Mark, I can jump in real briefly here. This is Terry Hill. I think that certainly we can pull a list. The challenge there is it would be voluminous in that out of 111,000 members, and I'm going from memory here because I couldn't pull up the chart fast enough. Out of 111,000 members of the Florida Bar, there's about 53,000 section memberships. Those 53,000 section memberships are owned by about 36,000 members because a lot of the members have multiple section memberships. So you'd probably have a list of about 80,000 bar members who don't belong to any section.
That many people.
Yeah. Only, and again, I'll pull that up and I'll share that with everybody. But yeah, out of I'm going, and maybe I see Chase is pulling it up here. Thank you, Chase. And bar members. There's 50. Wait, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the total number here. Yes, 30,000 section members is what he's showing on here, and that's reporting general. I'm looking for total number. Chase, is that on here somewhere? I think you're looking at You're looking at the diversity study. I was looking at for a different chart.
My apologies. Yeah, so I thought we were looking at here.
No, but I was going to say if I could, I'm pulling up a different chart that I can hopefully share pretty quickly here, if I can get it to come up. This is as, I'm going to see if I can share this on the right screen.
And Terry, can I ask sort of a follow-up question, which is,
sure.
I know that you have the opportunity when you fill out your information to say what you do. So do a lot of people do that to say what kind of law they practice? Because that would be another filter that we could kind of go through to maybe narrow that down. I'm just looking for ways to narrow down for each section. The folks, and I'm sorry, there's nasty construction in my building. That's all I'm trying to figure out, if there's a way to make it usable for the different sections, so we all know these are folks that are likely business lawyers or that you might want to start like marketing to, just try and get them to join.
Let me answer the first question first. As I hopefully you can see my screen. On my screen here, on this column here, you'll see this says section members, and this is the number of members in each section. This is as of August 1st. This number self-populates for us on August 1st. So this is 12 days old. The number of section members in each section. There's a total of 55,000 section memberships owned by 54,000 members. So I was a little off on my guesstimation numbers, but 55,000 total section memberships owned by 44,000 bar members. So there's still based on 111,000 total bar members, there's still 65,000 bar members who don't belong to any section. To your second question on practice areas, that is an optional field in the profile, but a lot of people do indicate that, a lot of people indicate multiple practice areas. But could you request from your administrator or through and them through membership records request of or IT, whichever would be the most appropriate? Could your administrator work to get you a list, get the section a list of bar members who are not members of the business law section who indicate that they practice, and then you would have to say business litigation, contract, whatever. Yes, we could do that. And again, it would not be a comprehensive list because it's not a required field, but anyone who optionally filled in that information, you'd be able to get it. Same with family law. You have to kind of know what practice areas to pick. Is it, child custody, divorce, just, those types of things. But anybody who indicated those optional practice areas, you'd certainly get a list of those and qualify that you want those people who selected, the bar members who selected those practice areas who are not members of the section. Or you could do it as 111,000 is the number of total bar members. If you want only active eligible members, that number is 80,000. Again, going off memory, that number would be total members 110, eligible practice 91,000. So if you wanted to if you want to pull from the 91,000 eligible in good standing, then you're going to pull from this. We're going to pull that from this list of people who filled in those optional areas instead of this, because maybe you don't want military, active, fee waiver, CLE, judges, or maybe you do. So I think you can kind of pick and choose there, and hopefully that answers your question. And I apologize if I said a whole lot more than I needed to answer it.
No, it did. I'm just thinking in terms of recruitment. Obviously the business law section wants to recruit the business lawyers. The family law section wants to recruit the family lawyers. So if there's a way to kind of and even that first level, if we could get a list of, several thousand members that said they do business law but are not members of a section, at least we now know one of the ponds we want to go fishing in. It makes it more likely if we find ways to reach out to them, then maybe we capture some of those people, which is great for the bar, great for the section, to win across the board. And then we can maybe figure out ways to filter down better to make it easier. We have scholars and fellows in the business law section that certainly can help us with some of the more, I shouldn't call it grunt work, but that probably is what it is. But any way to do that, I think would be really useful to each of the sections to know these are folks we want to try and get to join our section.
Oh, absolutely. And Chase just commented in the chat as well. But yes, the program administrators have access to that information, and they can pull that information. And then we can and you can also kind of dissect it in different ways if you wanted in a specific manner. If you were doing a big program in South Florida and you wanted to know bar members and then in the South Florida, pick it to Miami-Dade County, Broward County, you're doing an executive council meeting or retreat down there, and people who indicated that they practice in your section's area, but they're not members of the section, that you want to invite them to something. Again, there's ways to do that, and other sections that have done it successfully over the years.
That's a great idea, to the extent you can get that information to reach out to others with the same interests. practice area, you may be able to increase participation. Sally, you had a question?
Yeah, I think that we talked about that new bar members who've just passed the bar get to join 3 sections, right? And I wonder if there was a way for free. And I wonder if there was a way to have some kind of a missive with whatever goes out to those people. I don't know if they get something by paper anymore or if they get something electronically, but that just gives a description of each of the sections so that they could, maybe more easily see what kind of things they're interested in. They may not understand what one of the sections does or what any of the sections do, or and just have like a little blurb that we could send out on either electronically or in the mail if that's how they get their oath and things that they need to fill out. Just a thought.
Yeah, and I can respond to that briefly. They do receive it's most everything what they receive is electronically. They do get reminders that they are able to join up to 3 sections for free during their first year of practice, and many bar members do take advantage of that. New bar members take advantage of that. The challenge is on the back end of that is them not renewing. So I think something that the sections could do along the lines of I think where you're going there is prior to fee statement, prior to renewal, and if they opted to be a complimentary section member of PILS or Family Law or Reptile, when their fee statement comes out, those will be bubbled in for renewal for them to. But there might be a good idea to pull that list, work with your administrator to pull that list of people who were comp members in their first year of practice, and actively reach out to them about the benefits of becoming a dues paying member and staying with the section. And again, that's something that can be done. I know the electronic link that goes out to them promoting those complement memberships actually links to the section page of the website that has all the buttons of the sections. Where you click on them, it kind of says what gives you a brief overview of what the sections are.
Okay, all right. I was just thinking like a one-sheeter that had like what your mission statement is or something like that for everybody, but if they have something that links to the websites, maybe that would be a place to put it. You have the website address and then just the mission statement or whatever it is for that particular section, so that it might be easier for them to see what they're most interested in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and that may be the idea. Is to have a high level overview with 21 sections and the 21, 22 sections in the divisions. It might be difficult to get it on one page, but we can certainly probably get it on 2. Some mission statements are a lot longer than others, but if we could include a couple of sentences on that, I could see that could something begin. It could be an online document that could be linked to on that same page, and I think that might help. That might be helpful.
And Sally, what I will add is I'm adding that information to the letter that I send out to all the young lawyers. And Terry, that would be helpful if I could include just a link instead of saying search the Florida Bar's website. That would be really helpful as well.
With the sections and
can the section get notice of who those lawyers are so that we could follow up with them before? I mean, if we, like, for instance, if Family Law knew that the following 200 lawyers, voluntarily pick Family Law, then you might want to counter before it's due again and contact them to say, hey, you want to meet with someone in Family Law? Can we tell you about our section? Because that might be valuable to keep young lawyers to, if they're interested in it, just maybe a good system to.
Yes, that information is available, and again, the program administrator can get that information for you.
And so basically, Terry, you're telling me I'm giving Stephanie a lot more work, is what you're telling me.
Yes.
And also, just to elaborate briefly on that, to pull it back to a prior presentation, we have staff in an email system, a very smart email system, the Informs system, that can set up very smart campaigns. And so you can target specific groups of people, maybe people who didn't renew the section or this year's comp members. And you can send them through a series of emails, which will track their open rates. And if somebody doesn't open an email, it'll send another one to them. And you can even change the messaging as it goes along. So, we have a very good system here to use. We have ways of pulling the list of those people and then targeting them specifically. So please work through your administrators. We can do a whole lot on that front.
Chase, I wanted to mention about that, kind of going back to the deadlines and such. To do those really neat email chains, you have to have all of your emails together at once to do that. And then you can set that up to go over, 6 weeks, but you have to have all of them set up ahead of time, just kind of reiterating what the program administrators had said about that. But it does make it very useful to hit those people and kind of space out your emails that way.
Zasha, I believe Saya has her hand raised.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Hi, Zasha. I think all of those are great comments. In my experience, I think the more personal the communication when someone is considering whether to renew or not, the better. I know that's hard with the number of people that we have, but we've found a lot of success, I think, at the bar level and also here locally with just sort of targeted personal reach outs about what the sections are doing, what the sections have to offer, what type of events you can attend, and what the benefits are. And then on the email campaign, we get so many emails. So I know it's effective because that's how we communicate. But the more that we could include, photographs of people, looking like they're having a good time, going to fun places, I think the more attention you're going to get and the more opens you're going to get from those rather than just sort of written content. Last thing I'll say is I'm your section, Council of Sections liaison this year. I put all of my information in the chat. You have my cell phone, my email. I actually have to run. I wish I could stay for the reception, but I actually have to speak at an investiture in a few minutes. But I wanted to just say it's good to see you all. I've enjoyed today, and I look forward to working with all of you throughout the year.
And by the way,
thank you.
Because if I can add one thing, if you want to follow social media, just follow Saya. I mean, that's how you get people involved. Okay.
Thanks, Rolly. Okay, guys, see you all later.
So Chase, who would be, so if who at the bar would be, because the administrators aren't the technological people be pulling this, who actually pulls it at the bar? Like who's the tech person that really we would need that administrator interface with to pull down some of this information?
I've got a staff person here in my department whose sole job is to basically conduct all of this email system and the campaigns. He sets up all of our online catalogs. So I have somebody kind of in-house here who works very closely with every administrator on a daily basis. He's right in the middle of all of our offices. And then he can interface with people in IT, membership records department, and other areas around the bar when needed. And the administrator can also pull a lot of this information themselves if they know how to manipulate the system.
Right.
But if they don't, then our staff can do that for them.
That's what I'm thinking of. It might make sense to have, whoever's working on the section, the administrator and that person having the discussion, because you might get much better filtration if you have the person who's actually going to do the back end IT work saying, well, I could do it this way, I could do it that way. All right, that's good to know, because I think something like this could be really useful across the sections. And for the bar, listen, if we get increased membership 10%, you guys would be doing backflips, and so would we. So,
yeah, these are all good ideas on how to do that. So we're able to.
And I'm sorry, and to Sia's point, I know she left. No, we would try and match young lawyers with young lawyers and utilize social media, because we know unlike us gray hair folks, you folks with no gray hair, yes, social media is the way to go for you all. We get it.
Well, the social media is definitely going to be significant. And I believe that the Board of Governors is already working on something along those lines. Because I think that we will be getting it gets the word out a lot easier, and it gets to a lot more people. So definitely a good area to use.
I think Sally has a question.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say I'm pretty proud of us for recruitment for last year. I was the chair last year, and I'm the immediate past chair this year. When I took over, we had April count of 399 members. We were the smallest section. And today when I saw Terry's numbers over there, it said 610. So, and even, before that, we were at a 30% increase as of year over year when we met for our annual meeting. So 30% is a lot, but 150 people, may not be a lot to some of the bigger sections, but to us it was a lot. And one thing that we did, I was horrified, and I don't know who all knows this, but basically they keep your last year's bar members on to see when they are going to renew and that sort of thing. And come the beginning of October, my numbers went way down from like July, when everyone was, I had my renewing people, people who hadn't renewed yet, and then also any new members that we had gotten. And so it dropped drastically. And for us, that was like about 60 members, and I went, oh no, now I was up and now I'm down. So I said, okay. And I asked Kelbrell to get me a list of those 60 members. I said, who's not renewing? Send me the ones. And I had already sent out a letter, encouraging everyone to renew and that sort of thing. Well, I took the list, and some of them had moved out of state, and some of them had, clearly changed areas of law that they were working in, things like that. But a lot of them, and even one of them was on my executive council. So I'm like, what happened here? So I put the list out to the people in my executive council, and I said, if you know any of these people, call them. If you don't, I've got 25 on executive council. That's 2 to 3 calls. You tell me which ones you're calling, and we'll mark them off. And we called every last one of those people, and to see if there was a mistake. And a lot of them it was like, oh, well, my office was supposed to send all that in, and they hadn't sent it in yet. And let me go check on it, because, oh, geez, I need to be on that. So a lot of times it was just that. And sometimes it was they had changed their practice, or they had moved away or something like that. So, I mean, we literally took it apart. So even if you had, 200, then that's, if you had 25 on your executive council, that's 8 people to call. We just called everybody, because an email wasn't doing it. We were sending the emails out. So.
Now, we talked a little bit about membership. How about, are there any specific challenges that you're seeing in your section that you would want any feedback on? Maybe ideas from other sections? No challenges? Anything? No? How about things that you're proud of that you thought went very well in the last year that I think might help you would want to share about your section? That we could that other sections may want to do as well. No.
Well, one thing I can tell you again is that something that I got from the Council of Sections was we had some speakers who said that they had put someone on their board as a liaison from YLD, and we did that. And there was a search. YLD did the whole thing. They did a search for someone. They asked for applications to see who wanted to be on our board as a liaison, and we got a very, very good person that way, and also someone that we could talk to YLD through, and so I got that from the Council of Sections and from one of our meetings. So I passed that on again to everybody else, because we did it and it did a good thing. So.
And we appreciated that a lot. We really do want to help. We are better because of all of you. And it's so funny you mentioned that, Sally, because through Tom, our administrator, we actually had a great idea of hosting a council of affiliates. And that's where we bring all of our affiliates together to have those conversations. And then this year, I'm implementing a council of committees as a way to bring all of my community chairs together, not just the board, but literally all of our chairs to talk about how do we increase creativity or make sure we're not being redundant. So that's something I got from the Council of Sections. But again, Sally, YLD is really here to help everyone.
And what about mentorship? Have your sections tried to develop ways to have mentorship for new members or from new executive members in your sections? Have there been any efforts in that regard?
So business law has a mentorship program. It's voluntary, but a good number of members of the section participate in it. And we offer all new members, and especially we're the scholars that or the fellows that participate in the fellows program all get mentors. But typically we've got a good participation of mentor-mentees with older section members and younger section members. When we try and match them up, interests or geographic areas, and it's been pretty successful. I mean, we usually have more mentors than mentees. So sometimes some of the younger lawyers get two mentors. For a while, we actually made social and substantive mentors, which I thought was kind of funny, but it works really well, and a lot of the longer participating section members are active participants in it.
Do you find that, so you think it's worked very well?
Well, it introduces the younger lawyers to what the section offers. It gives them access to someone who's been active in the section for a long time to introduce them to other section members. So let's say they're interested in meeting bankruptcy judges. It's easy for an older section member to introduce them to the judges. It may be a little more intimidating for them to do on their own. And it helps them figure out what initiatives they may want to be involved in. Like we have, as a lot of you know, in the council sections, business law is a very active diversity initiative. Hopefully we will go a year without the Supreme Court beating on us this year. But a lot of younger members have gotten active in that initiative. We have active pro bono initiatives. So it really gives, it's intimidating you. You walk into a meeting, you walk into an event, and there's 30 meetings to choose from. You don't know anyone, and you sit in the rooms, you have no idea what's going on. So it really helps to have somebody to access to say, help me here figure out what's going on, what I can potentially do, what would I be interested in. So yeah, I think it's worked very well.
Okay. Wonderful. Any other topics that of interest that you think will work well for your sections that you want to share? Okay. Well, I want to thank all the section administrators that participated in this roundtable. And unless anybody wants to add something, we could end this or take a break before the reception, unless you want to have any other thoughts you want to share.
Zasha, this is Terry Hill again, if I may. I just want to encourage all the section leaders to utilize their program administrators. I kind of describe program administrators as kind of your mini association executive. They're your executive director, if you will. They're your Josh Doyle for your section. So I'd encourage you to use them. They have a lot of available resources to them. While you have one program administrator assigned to you, have one section administrator assigned to you, that they're the face that you're seeing of the Florida Bar regularly in your emails and phone calls and at your meetings, but they have a whole team of support behind them. They have administrative support. They have additional meeting and on-site and hybrid meeting or virtual meeting support. They have a graphics and arts team. There's a lot of other finance and accounting support, IT. So there's a lot of people standing behind them that are an extension of your resources. So I'd ask that you kind of reach out to your program administrators, involve them in your communications, let them know. And the other thing I say is our program administrators really trying hard to get to yes. They want to be able to tell you yes, they can do whatever you want to do. It helps a lot if they kind of know what the end result is. If they know where you're going with the idea of what you really want to achieve or what you want to accomplish, they can generally work with Chase or me or anyone else here at the bar to kind of see how we can make that happen within the bar policy or bar guidelines or bar processes. So just, involve your program administrator to the extent you need to pull somebody else in, whether that's Chase or myself or Marcy or Gypsy, if it's, a legislative, we can certainly do that. But again, I think that I want to impress upon you the importance of using the program administrator as the professional level staff that they are. And I want to thank them, here publicly, thank each one of them for all that they do for you and all that they do for the Florida Bar. I think today, Zasha, I think today's program has been wonderful. It's probably been one of the better, very long Zoom meetings I've participated in the past couple of years. I learned a lot from others, and I learned a lot from the questions that are asked. So I just want to say thanks for putting this together and working with staff to put this together. But I think it was a great meeting, and a huge shout out to all the section leaders for all the work that you guys do, but also to all the bar staff, program administrators. I know how hard they work to work for you. So thank you.
And if I could follow up on what Terry said, as someone who's been an active business law section member for years and worked with a lot of section administrators, you guys are amazing. Stephanie, our administrator right now, is amazing. We've had some great administrators over the years, and thank you all for what you do, because I know we're often pains in the rear for you guys because we ask for lots of things. I know we do, and sometimes we cause trouble without meaning to. I know we do that too. But you guys really do a great job, and I can't thank you enough. And it's a tough job. I've watched administrators over the years work at different functions and events, and it's a little chaotic sometimes. So we do appreciate you. So thank you all.
Well, I echo that. Thank you to our section administrators. Thank you to Angie Frolic, who's also helped out with the labor and employment section for many years that I'm on the executive council on. And thank you to Paige and Chase and Sherry for helping with this program. I know it was a lot of work we couldn't have done it without you all, with all your backing. So we appreciate that. And thank you for all that you're able to participate today. I'm greatly appreciated, and we hope you gained a lot of value, and that you'll get the materials in the early next week and have a reference, something to look to if you need it during the bar year. And also any ideas you have, anything we could do to help the sections, learn more and also work together on some programming if possible to reach out to our officers, to anything we can do to help you in that regard.